She was just a mechanic trying to survive when a wounded stranger stumbled into her garage at midnight. She patched him up with car thread and whiskey, asking for nothing in return. 10 days later, she discovered the dying man she saved was the city's most dangerous mafia boss, and he decided her kindness deserved a lifetime of repayment. The wrench slipped from Nora's oil-stained fingers and clanged against the concrete floor. Midnight had come and gone an hour ago, and she was still under Mr. Chen's delivery truck, fighting with a transmission that had more problems than solutions. Her back ached. Her eyes burned. The single flickering bulb above cast shadows that danced across the grimy walls of her garage, if you could even call it that. It was more like a cave. A narrow space wedged between two crumbling buildings in the South Side district, where rent was cheap because nobody wanted to live there. Where gunshots were as common as car horns, and the police only came when someone important got hurt. Nora wasn't important. She was just a girl trying to survive. She wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand, leaving a dark smear. 22 years old, and this garage was all she had. Her parents were gone, lost to a factory fire when she was 16.
No siblings.
No family. Just her. A toolbox her father left behind, and the stubborn belief that if she worked hard enough, things would get better. They hadn't. The truck's owner needed it by morning. If she finished tonight, she'd make $300. Enough for rent. Enough for food. Enough to keep the lights on for another month. She reached for the wrench again. That's when she heard it. Pop, 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 pop. Gunfire.
Close.
Too close. Nora froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. The shots echoed through the empty street, followed by the screech of tires and shouting, angry, desperate shouting that made her blood run cold. She should close the garage door. Lock it.
Hide.
But her hands wouldn't move. Footsteps. Running. Heavy boots slapping against wet pavement, getting closer. Move, Nora. Move. She scrambled out from under the truck just as a shadow appeared in the doorway.
A man.
Tall, broad-shouldered, stumbling. His hand pressed against the brick wall for support, and in the dim light, she saw it. The dark stains spreading across his expensive suit pants.
Blood.
Their eyes met. His were dark, fierce, filled with something between rage and exhaustion. Pain etched lines across his face, but his jaw was set, teeth clenched. He looked like he wanted to kill her just for existing. Don't, he rasped, his voice rough as gravel. Don't scream. Don't call anyone. Nora's mouth went dry. She should scream. She should run. But something in his eyes stopped her. Not the threat, but the way he swayed on his feet, barely standing. He was dying. You're shot, she said, her voice smaller than she wanted it to be. Brilliant observation, he took another step inside, then his leg buckled. Nora caught him before he hit the ground, or tried to. He was heavy, all muscle and dead weight, and they both went down hard. He grunted in pain, and she felt warm blood soak through her work shirt. Leave me, he growled.
Go.
Forget you saw me. But Nora was already moving. Her mind shifted into the same mode it did when facing a broken engine. Assess. Prioritize. Fix. The bullet wound was in his thigh, high up. Blood pulsed steadily from the hole. Not an arterial spray, but bad enough. She grabbed a clean rag from her workbench and pressed it hard against the wound. He hissed through his teeth. What are you doing? Saving your life, apparently. Her hands were shaking, but her voice came out steadier than she felt. Unless you'd rather bleed out on my floor. You don't know who I am. Don't care. That was a lie. She did care. The suit alone probably cost more than her entire garage. The watch on his wrist could feed her for a year. Men dressed like that, bleeding from gunshot wounds in the middle of the night, weren't accountants or teachers. They were dangerous. But her father's voice echoed in her memory. You see someone hurt, you help. That's what makes us human, Nora girl. She dragged him toward her workbench, where the light was better. He tried to resist, but he was too weak. His skin had gone pale, lips tinged with gray. "This is going to hurt," she warned. "Everything hurts." Nora grabbed her first aid kit, barely more than bandages and rubbing alcohol, and a bottle of whiskey she kept for cold nights. She doused the wound with alcohol first. He didn't make a sound, but his hand clenched into a fist so tight his knuckles went white. The bullet had gone clean through. That was good. She wouldn't have to dig for it. But the exit wound was messy, torn flesh and bleeding edges. She needed to close it. Her eyes landed on her sewing kit. "You're joking," he said, following her gaze. "You have a better idea?" He said nothing. Nora threaded the thickest needle she had, then poured whiskey over it and her hands. She'd stitched leather seats before. Fabric. Canvas. Never flesh. But a wound was just torn material, right? It needed to be pulled together, sealed. She took a breath and pushed the needle through his skin. His entire body went rigid, but still, he didn't scream. Just breathed hard through his nose, eyes fixed on the ceiling. She worked quickly, her hands steadying as she fell into the rhythm. In and out. Pull tight. Tie off. Move to the next stitch. The world narrowed to just the wound, the thread, the needle. Everything else disappeared. When she finished, she wrapped his thigh in clean bandages and sat back, breathing hard. The man's eyes had closed. For a terrifying moment, she thought he was dead. Then his chest rose and fell, shallow but steady. Nora slumped against the workbench, suddenly exhausted. What had she just done? Who was this man? What if whoever shot him came looking? Hours passed. She couldn't sleep. Just sat there, watching him breathe, listening for sirens or footsteps or gunshots. But the night remained quiet. When the first gray light of dawn crept through the garage door, she blinked and realized she'd dozed off. She jerked awake, heart pounding. The man was gone. The bloody rags were still there, the empty whiskey bottle. But the man had vanished like smoke. Nora stood on shaky legs and looked around. Had she imagined it? Some exhaustion-induced hallucination. Then she saw it. On her workbench, catching the early morning light, lay a single gold cufflink. Expensive, real gold, engraved with 2 letters in elegant script. A.M. Nora picked it up, its weight solid and real in her palm. Outside, the city was waking up. Car horns, distant voices, the rumble of the first buses. She closed her fingers around the cufflink and felt the first tremor of something she couldn't name. Not quite fear, not quite curiosity. Something in between. Something that whispered, "Your life just changed, and you don't even know it yet." Nora scrubbed the bloodstains from her garage floor for the 3rd time, but the concrete had already drunk them in. Faint brown marks remained, like shadows refusing to leave. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him, the mysterious man with the bullet-wound and expensive suit. The gold cufflink sat in her pocket, heavy as a stone. A.M. Who was he? The morning sun climbed higher, and Nora opened the garage door to let in fresh air. The street looked normal. Mrs. Lopez swept her stoop across the way. 2 kids kicked a soccer ball against a wall. Everything ordinary. Until the black cars arrived. 3 of them. Sleek, dark sedans that didn't belong in this neighborhood. They moved slowly down the street like sharks circling prey, windows tinted so dark they looked empty. Nora's stomach dropped. The cars passed her garage, then turned at the corner and disappeared. But 5 minutes later, she saw them again, coming from the opposite direction.
Searching.
She ducked back inside and pretended to work, her hands trembling as she picked up a wrench. Nora. She jumped. Benny stood in the doorway, her only real friend in this godforsaken neighborhood. Ex-military, built like a tank, with a scar running from his left eyebrow to his jaw. He'd helped her countless times when drunk customers got aggressive or when equipment was too heavy to move alone. "You okay?" he asked, his eyes scanning the garage. "You look like you've seen a ghost."
"I've fine."
"Just tired." Benny stepped closer, lowering his voice. Those black cars. You see them? She nodded. They've been circling the block all morning. Asking questions, his expression darkened. They're looking for someone.
A man.
Shot last night, about 2 blocks from here. The wrench slipped from Nora's fingers again. Benny caught her arm.
Nora.
Did you see something? No, she lied too quickly. No, I was working late, but I didn't see anything. He studied her face, and she knew he didn't believe her. Benny had a way of seeing through people, probably something he learned in the war. Listen to me carefully, he said, his grip tightening. If you did see something, if you helped someone, these aren't regular people. They're connected, organized. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't. The man they're looking for? Benny interrupted. Word is he's important. Real important. The kind of important that makes people disappear for asking the wrong questions. A chill ran down Nora's spine. So, if you know anything at all, you forget it.
Right now. Today.
You never saw him, never helped him, never even heard about him. Benny's eyes bore into hers. These people don't forgive. They don't forget. And they sure as hell don't show mercy. Before she could respond, a police car pulled up outside. Benny cursed under his breath and stepped back, pretending to examine a tire rack. 2 officers got out, one older, with gray in his mustache, the other young and nervous-looking. Morning, the older cop said, stopping just outside the garage. His badge read Detective Morales. We're investigating an incident from last night. Shooting, couple blocks over. You hear anything? See anything unusual? Nora forced herself to meet his eyes. I heard gunshots, but that's not unusual around here. You were working late? Until about 3 a.m. Had a transmission to finish. Detective Morales nodded slowly, his gaze sweeping the garage. For a horrible moment, Nora thought he could see the bloodstains, could smell the copper tang that still lingered in the air. Anyone come by? Someone hurt, maybe looking for help.
No, sir.
Just me and the truck. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. The detective handed her a card. You remember anything, you call me, day or night. They left, but Nora felt their suspicion hanging in the air like smoke. Benny waited until they were gone, then shook his head. You're a terrible liar, Nora. I don't know what you're talking about. Right? He moved toward the door, then paused. Just be careful. Whatever you did or didn't do, it's done now. But keep your head down. These next few days are going to be dangerous. After he left, Nora stood alone in her garage, the gold cufflink burning a hole in her pocket. She almost threw it away. Should have thrown it away. But something stopped her. The afternoon wore on. Customers came and went. She fixed a carburetor, replaced brake pads, changed oil. Normal work. Normal day. Except for the black sedan that appeared at 4 o'clock and parked directly across the street. It just sat there. Engine running. Windows dark. Watching. Nora felt eyes on her back as she worked. Every time she looked up, the car was still there, patient as death. When evening came and she finally pulled down the garage door, her hands were shaking so badly she could barely turn the lock. Inside, in the darkness, she pulled out the cufflink and stared at the engraved letters. A.M. Who are you? She whispered to the empty air. Outside, the black sedan's engine hummed softly, keeping vigil through the night. And Nora knew, with bone-deep certainty, that her answer was coming, whether she wanted it or not. 10 days passed. 10 days of black cars slowly disappearing from the streets. 10 days of holding her breath every time someone walked past her garage. 10 days of the gold cufflink hidden in an old coffee can under her workbench. Gradually, life returned to normal. The police stopped asking questions. The neighborhood gossip moved on to other scandals. Even Benny relaxed, though he still checked on her more often than before. Nora almost convinced herself it was over. Almost. On the 10th evening, she went to the corner store for groceries. Bread, eggs, instant noodles, the usual. Mrs. Chun at the counter tried to give her a discount again, and Nora refused again, paying full price because charity stung worse than hunger. The walk back took 15 minutes. The sun was setting, painting the grimy buildings in shades of orange and gold that almost made them beautiful. She turned the corner to her street and stopped dead. Her garage looked different. The rusted door that always stuck, gone, replaced by a new one that gleamed in the fading light. The cracked window she'd covered with cardboard, fixed, actual glass installed. Even the walls looked cleaner, like someone had scrubbed away years of grime. Nora's groceries slipped from her hands. Eggs cracked on the pavement. She ran to the garage, heart hammering. The new door opened smoothly, silently. Inside, she froze. Everything had changed. New LED lights hung from the ceiling, casting bright, even illumination over the space. Her old, rusted tools had been replaced, or rather, joined by professional-grade equipment. A hydraulic lift stood where she used to use jack stands, an air compressor, a diagnostic computer, tool chests filled with instruments she'd only dreamed about. "Do you like it?" Nora spun around, reaching for a wrench that wasn't there anymore. A man stepped from the shadows near the door. Not the man from that night. This one was shorter, older, wearing a crisp suit and an expression of polite neutrality. "Who are you? What is this?" "My name is Vincent. I'm here on behalf of my employer." He gestured to the transformed garage. "Consider this a token of appreciation." "Appreciation for what?" "I think you know." Before Nora could respond, she heard it, the distinctive tap of a cane against concrete. Slow, measured, deliberate. Another figure appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the dying light. Even before he stepped into the illumination, she knew. The man from that night. Healed now, standing straight, though he leaned slightly on an elegant black cane. His suit was different, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, but the eyes were the same. Dark, intelligent, dangerous. And he was looking at her like she was a puzzle he'd finally solved. "You," Nora breathed. "Me." A slight smile touched his lips. "I never properly introduced myself. Adrien Moretti." The name hit her like a physical blow. Everyone in the city knew that name. Even in the poorest neighborhoods, especially in the poorest neighborhoods, people whispered about Adrien Moretti, the youngest mob boss in the city's history. Ruthless, brilliant, connected to everything from construction contracts to the docks to half the politicians in City Hall. And she'd stitched him up with thread meant for car upholstery. "Oh God," she whispered. "Not quite," his smile widened slightly. "Though I've been called worse." Nora's legs felt weak. "I don't want this. Any of this. Take it back." "Can't do that. I didn't ask for payment." "No," Adrien agreed, moving further into the garage with that careful, measured gait. "You didn't ask for anything. That's precisely why you're getting it." He ran his hand along the new diagnostic computer. 10 days ago, my own men left me bleeding in an alley. My brother, my own blood, ordered the hit. I was supposed to die in that gutter like a dog. He turned to face her fully. But a girl with oil under her fingernails and no reason to care pulled me inside, stitched me up with thread and whiskey, and asked for nothing. His voice dropped. "Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world? I'm not part of your world. You are now." "No." Nora's voice came out stronger than she felt. "I don't want your gratitude. I don't want your money or your tools or your protection. I just want to be left alone." Adrien studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded slowly. "Fair enough." He turned toward the door, then paused. "But the garage stays. The equipment stays. Call it gratitude, call it payment, call it whatever helps you sleep at night. But it's yours. I won't be owned by you." "Good." He glanced back, and something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or surprise. "I have enough people who belong to me. It's refreshing to meet someone who doesn't." He left, Vincent following like a shadow. Nora stood alone in her transformed garage, surrounded by tools worth more than she'd earn in 5 years, and felt the trap closing around her. She'd saved his life. And now she'd never be free of him. The customers started arriving the next morning. First came a man in a Mercedes with a simple oil change request. Then a woman in a Lexus needing brake work. By noon, Nora had serviced 6 vehicles. All expensive, all driven by people who mentioned they were referred by a friend. They never said which friend. But Nora knew. The money was good. Better than good. In 3 days, she made more than she usually did in a month. Her appointment book, which used to have maybe 2 or 3 names scribbled in it, was suddenly full for the next 2 weeks. She should have been happy. Instead, she felt like she was drowning. Business is booming, Benny observed on the 4th day, watching another luxury car pull away. You win a lottery or something? Or something, Nora muttered, wiping grease from her hands. Benny's eyes narrowed. These people, they're not your usual customers. They pay well. That's what I'm worried about. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Nora, where are they coming from? Who's sending them? She couldn't lie to Benny. Not again. I think you already know. He cursed, long and creative. The man from that night. You did help him. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, but his expression softened. What does he want from you? I don't know. He says it's just gratitude. Men like that don't do just anything. Everything's transactional. Benny glanced around the upgraded garage. This is an investment. And eventually he'll want a return. Before Nora could respond, Detective Morales' unmarked car pulled up outside. Benny disappeared into the street without a word. Old military instinct, avoiding cops. Smart. Detective Morales approached slowly, his sharp eyes taking in every detail of the transformed garage. Looks different in here. Got some new equipment, Nora said, keeping her voice neutral. Must have cost a fortune. He picked up a wrench from the new tool set, weighing it in his hand. Business must be very good. I've been lucky. Lucky, he set the wrench down. That's one word for it. He turned to face her. You know what I do for a living, Nora? I follow money. Money tells stories better than people do. And your money? It's suddenly telling a very interesting story. Her mouth went dry. I don't know what you mean. 3 weeks ago, you were barely making rent. Now you've got equipment worth 50 grand and clients driving cars most of us can only dream about. He stepped closer. You want to tell me how that happened? I'm good at my job. Word spreads. Word spreads, he repeated, nodding slowly. Through what channels exactly? Because every single one of your new clients has connections to Adrien Moretti's organization. There it was. The name, spoken out loud. Nora forced herself to hold his gaze. I can't control who my customers know. No, but you can control who you associate with. Detective Morales pulled out a folder, opened it. Inside were surveillance photos, black cars outside her garage, well-dressed men entering and leaving. Once the mob owns your name, they never let go. You become part of the machine. And when the machine breaks down, everyone gets crushed. I'm not part of anything. Not yet. But you will be. He closed the folder. They start with gifts, then favors. Then one day, someone asks you to hide something in your garage. Just for a few hours, they say. No big deal. But it's drugs or guns or evidence. And suddenly you're an accomplice. Nora's hands clenched into fists. That won't happen. That's what they all say. He headed for the door, then paused. My offer stands. You want out, you come to me. I can help. But only if you ask before it's too late. He left, and Nora felt the walls closing in tighter. That evening, as she was locking up, the black sedan returned. But this time, Adrien Moretti stepped out. He was alone.
No Vincent. No bodyguards.
Just him and his cane, standing in the orange glow of the streetlight. I hear you had a visit from the police, he said. Word travels fast. Always does. He moved closer, his limp barely noticeable now. What did Detective Morales want? To warn me about you. Adrien smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. And what did you tell him? That I'm not part of your world. still clinging to that fantasy. He leaned against the garage door. I came to tell you something. My brother, the one who ordered my execution, he knows about you now. Nora's blood ran cold. He's trying to figure out why I'm protecting a mechanic in the slums. It makes him curious. Adrien's voice dropped. Curiosity in my family is dangerous. Then stop protecting me. Leave me alone. I can't. For the first time, something genuine crossed his face. Regret, maybe. You showed me kindness when my own blood wanted me dead. That created a bond, whether you want it or not. I didn't ask for a bond. No one ever does. He straightened, preparing to leave. But bonds exist anyway. And this one might just keep you alive. He walked away, leaving Nora standing in the darkness, caught between a detective's warning and a mobster's protection. Neither of which she wanted. Both of which she couldn't escape. The smell hit Nora before she saw the smoke. She was 2 blocks away, returning from a late dinner at Mrs. Chen's restaurant, when the acrid scent of burning wood and chemicals filled the air. Her steps quickened, then broke into a run. Orange flames licked out from her garage's front window.
No, no, no.
She sprinted the last 100 yards, her heart in her throat. Neighbors were already gathering, phones out, someone shouting about calling the fire department. The new door, Adrien's door, hung crooked on its hinges, crowbar marks visible in the security light. Nora pushed through the crowd and stumbled inside. The fire was contained to her small office area in the back corner, the space where she kept records, invoices, her father's old photographs. Flames consumed papers, climbed the walls, turned memories to ash. She grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprayed, coughing as smoke filled her lungs. By the time the fire trucks arrived, she'd killed most of the flames. But the damage was done. Her office was destroyed. File cabinets pried open, their contents scattered or burned. The lockbox where she kept cash gone. Her laptop, smashed on the floor. Even the photograph of her parents, the last one she had, was now just charred pieces in a puddle of water. Everybody back. A firefighter pushed through. This could be a gas leak. It wasn't a gas leak. Detective Morales appeared, his face grim in the flashing lights. He pointed to the crowbar marks, the pried cabinets. This was a break-in. Arson. Nora sank onto a tool chest, her legs giving out. Everything. They'd taken everything. But why? The firefighters cleared the scene. The police took statements. And Nora sat there, numb, watching them photograph her ruined office. A black sedan screeched to a halt outside. Adrien emerged like a storm, his face dark with fury. Vincent and 2 other men flanked him, all of them moving with predatory purpose. Everyone out, Adrien commanded. Excuse me? Detective Morales stepped forward. This is a crime scene. And she's under my protection. Adrien's voice could have cut glass. Which means whoever did this just declared war. Mr. Moretti, I suggest you
Leave.
Now, Adrien didn't raise his voice, but something in his tone made even the seasoned detective hesitate. Morales looked at Nora. You want him here? She should say no. Should let the police handle it. Should keep pretending she wasn't tangled in Adrien's world. But looking at her destroyed office, at the ashes of her parents' photograph, something inside her broke. Yes, she whispered. The detective left, promising to return in the morning. The moment they were alone, Adrien moved through the garage, his men examining every corner. He stopped at the destroyed office, his jaw clenched so tight a muscle twitched in his cheek. Marco, he said quietly. This was Marco. Your brother? Nora stood on shaky legs. He's sending a message. Adrien turned to her, and she saw something she hadn't expected in his eyes. Genuine anger, but also guilt. He wants me to know that anyone I care about is vulnerable. You don't care about me. You barely know me. That's not how he sees it. Adrien ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so human it startled her. I've been visiting you, sending you clients. In his eyes, that makes you important to me. which makes you a target. Nora felt sick. This is because I saved your life. This is because my brother is a paranoid sociopath who sees threats everywhere. Adrien's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened further.
He left something.
A message. Vincent appeared, holding a piece of paper retrieved from the debris. Adrien read it, his knuckles whitening as he gripped the page. What does it say? Nora asked. He handed it to her. In crude, printed letters. Next time, she burns with it. The paper trembled in Nora's hands. I'm ending this tonight, Adrien said, pulling out his phone. Marco's been pushing for a confrontation. Now he'll get 1 inch. Wait. Nora grabbed his arm. What are you going to do? What I should have done weeks ago. His eyes were cold, empty. My brother tried to kill me. Now he's threatening you. There's only one way this ends. You mean you're going to kill him? Yes. The simple, flat honesty of it shocked her more than anything else could have. No, Nora said. Adrien stared at her like she'd spoken in a foreign language.
No.
You can't just, she struggled to find words. More blood? More death. That's your solution? In my world, it's the only solution. Then your world is wrong. The words burst out of her. Your brother did this because of violence. Because that's all you people know. And you're going to respond with more violence. And then what? His people come after you? After me? When does it end? It ends when he's dead. And what about you? Nora stepped closer, meeting his dangerous gaze. What happens to you? You kill your own brother, and you think you'll just walk away clean? You think that won't destroy you? For the first time since he'd arrived, Adrien hesitated. It was barely a flicker, a moment where the cold mask cracked and she saw the man underneath. Tired, angry, scared, maybe, though he'd never admit it. He hurt you, Adrien said quietly. He destroyed your home. And killing him won't fix it. Then what do you suggest? There was something almost pleading in his voice. Let him win. I suggest, Nora said, her own voice steadier now, that you try something you've probably never tried before. What's that? Mercy. The word hung between them like a challenge. Adrien looked at her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Confusion, curiosity, and the faintest spark of something that might have been hope. You're asking me to be weak. I'm asking you to be better. He turned away, and she thought he'd leave. Thought he'd ignore her and do what he'd always done, solve problems with violence and power. But instead, he stood there in her ruined garage, surrounded by smoke and ashes, and for the first time in his life, Adrien Moretti didn't know what to do. 3 days later, the police came with handcuffs. Nora was replacing a fuel pump when Detective Morales arrived with 2 uniformed officers and a woman in a gray suit carrying a briefcase. Nora Reyes, the woman said, her voice crisp and professional. I'm Agent Sarah Chen, Financial Crimes Division. We need you to come with us. The wrench fell from Nora's hand.
What? Why?
You're being investigated for money laundering. Agent Chen opened her briefcase, pulled out documents. We've been tracking financial irregularities connected to Adrien Moretti's organization. Your business appears to be a hub for washing illegal funds. That's insane. I fix cars. You fix cars for convicted felons, known associates of organized crime, and shell corporations we've been investigating for years. Chen's expression remained neutral. In the past 2 weeks, you've processed over $40,000 through your accounts. Care to explain where that money came from? Nora's mind raced. The customers. All those expensive cars. All those generous tips. They've been building a case against her the entire time. I didn't know. Ignorance isn't a defense. Detective Morales stepped forward, and she saw something in his eyes. Not satisfaction, but sadness. I warned you. Once they own your name. I'm not part of this. Tell it to the judge. Agent Chen nodded to the officers. We have a warrant to search the premises and seize all financial records. You can come voluntarily, or we can make this difficult. Nora looked around her garage, her father's legacy, her home, everything she'd worked for, and felt it all slipping away. She went voluntarily. The interrogation room was exactly like the movies: gray walls, metal table, fluorescent lights that made everything look washed out and hopeless. They questioned her for hours. Where did the money come from? Who brought the cars? Did she know she was laundering funds? Had Adrien Moretti instructed her to process payments? No, she kept saying. No, I didn't know anything. But her bank statements told a different story. Shell companies, cash deposits, payments that didn't match the invoices. Someone had been using her garage, and she'd been too naive to see it. Or maybe too desperate for the money to ask questions. Around hour 3, there was a knock on the door. Agent Chin stepped out, returned 5 minutes later with a strange expression. "You're free to go." Nora blinked. "What?" "Someone posted your bail. You're released pending further investigation." Chen's jaw tightened. "You're very lucky, Ms. Reyes. Or very connected. I'm not sure which is worse." In the lobby, Vincent waited in his perfect suit, holding a manila envelope. "Mr. Moretti sent me," he said simply. "No," Nora backed away. "I'm not taking his money. I'm not. It's not his money. It's yours. Your earnings, properly documented and taxed." Vincent handed her the envelope, along with a proposal. Inside was a passport, her face, a different name, $5,000 in cash, and a handwritten note in elegant script. "Disappear. Start over. You deserve better than this." Nora stared at the passport.
Elena Martinez.
A new identity. A new life. Freedom. "There's a car waiting," Vincent said. "It can take you to the airport. Mexico City, if you want. Or Toronto. Anywhere you choose." She could do it. Walk away from this nightmare, from Adrien's world, from the police investigation. Just vanish. But that would mean giving up everything.
"No," she said.
Vincent's eyebrow raised, the most emotion she'd ever seen from him. "Ms. Reyes, the charges against you are serious. Even if we fight them, your reputation is destroyed. Your business is gone. Mr. Moretti is offering you an escape. I won't run from a life I built with my own hands." Nora closed the envelope. "Tell Adrien thank you, but no." "Then what will you do?" She thought of the gold cufflink, still hidden in her garage. Thought of the night she'd stitched Adrien's leg with car thread. Thought of his brother's threatening note. Next time, she burns with it. And suddenly, she knew what she had to do. "I'm going to end this," she said. "The right way." 2 hours later, Nora sat across from Detective Morales in a diner, the gold cufflink on the table between them. "This was at my garage the night Adrien Moretti was shot," she said. "He left it behind." Morales picked it up, his expression carefully neutral. "You're admitting you helped him." "I'm admitting I saved his life. I didn't know who he was." She pulled out her phone, opened the cloud storage she'd secretly maintained. "But I do have security footage from that night. And from every customer who came after. Shell company representatives. Money drops. All of it." She slid the phone across the table. "There's more. Adrien told me his brother Marco ordered the hit. Marco's trying to take over the family business. He's the one who set up the money laundering scheme through my garage. To frame me, to hurt Adrien." Morales scrolled through the footage, his eyes widening. "This is everything you need to take down Marco Moretti and his crew." Nora leaned forward. "But I want immunity. Full immunity. And protection. You realize what you're doing? You're not just exposing Marco. You're exposing Adrien's entire operation." "I know." And she did. She was betraying the man who'd protected her, who'd shown her more kindness than he'd probably shown anyone in years. But she was also saving him. From his brother. From himself. From a life that would only end in blood. Morales made a phone call. Then another. By the time Nora left the diner 3 hours later, she'd signed statements, turned over evidence, and set in motion something that would shatter the Moretti empire. She'd chosen mercy. Now she could only hope Adrien would understand. The call came at 3 in the morning. Nora jerked awake, her heart hammering. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Nora, Adrien's voice was rough, strained. You need to leave. Right now. She sat up, suddenly alert. What's happening? Marco knows. About the evidence, the police, everything a pause. He's coming for you. How did he? Someone in the department leaked it. Doesn't matter. You have maybe 20 minutes, his breathing was labored. Vincent's on his way. He'll take you somewhere safe. Where are you? Silence. Adrien, where are you? Finishing this, the line went dead. Nora threw on clothes, grabbed her father's old toolbox, the one thing she wouldn't leave behind. She was halfway to the door when she heard it. Tires screeching outside.
A car door slamming.
Footsteps, heavy and fast. Too late. The garage door exploded inward. 3 men entered, guns drawn. The one in front, taller, broader than Adrien, with the same dark eyes but meaner, colder, smiled. The famous mechanic, Marco Moretti said. My brother's little savior. Nora backed toward her workbench, mind racing. The wrench. The pneumatic tools. Anything she could use as a weapon. He's not here, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. I know. He's halfway across the city right now, walking into my trap. Marco moved closer. See, I figured he'd do something stupid when he found out I was coming for you. Predictable. Love makes men weak. He doesn't love me. Maybe not. But he cares. And caring?
Marco laughed.
That's a liability in our business. Our father understood that. But Adrien, he always was too soft. Soft enough to survive your assassination attempt.
Marco's smile vanished.
That was a mistake. One I won't repeat. He raised his gun. You cost me everything. My brother chose you over blood. The family's splitting because of you. The police have evidence because of you. The police have evidence because you're a criminal. We're all criminals, sweetheart. The only difference is who gets caught. His finger moved to the trigger. Adrien wanted to save you. Wanted to be noble. So I'm going to make sure the last thing he hears is that he failed. Nora's hand closed around a wrench. The gunshot never came. Instead, the rear door of the garage, the one that led to the alley, crashed open. Adrien stumbled through, blood spreading across his shirt, his gun raised. Get away from her. Marco spun, his men turning their weapons. Brother. Right on time. Let her go. This is between us. Nothing's between us anymore. Marco's voice turned cold. You chose her over family. Over everything we built. You tried to kill me. Because you were weak. Father would have been ashamed. Marco gestured with his gun. Look at you. Bleeding for a girl who betrayed you. Who gave the cops everything. Adrien's eyes flicked to Nora. She saw the question there, the hurt. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was trying to save you. Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe. Or forgiveness. I know, he said softly. Then everything happened at once.
Marco fired.
Adrien dove left, returning fire. His men scattered, shots echoing in the enclosed space. Nora dropped behind the workbench, ears ringing. She heard shouting. More gunshots. Glass shattering. Then Marco's voice, triumphant. Drop it or she dies. Nora looked up. Marco had circled around, his gun pressed to her temple. Adrien stood 10 feet away, his own weapon aimed at his brother. Blood dripped from his shoulder, his side. He was swaying, barely standing. You won't shoot her, Adrien said. You need her alive to hurt me. Try me. Marco, please. Nora started. Shut up, Marco's gun pressed harder. Last chance, brother. Drop your weapon, or I paint the walls with her brain. Adrien's hand trembled. His eyes met Nora's. She saw him decide. He lowered his gun. Good boy, Marco sneered.
Now.
Adrien moved. Not forward, sideways, putting himself between Nora and his brother. The gun went off, the sound deafening. Adrien jerked as the bullet hit him square in the chest. But he'd already fired his own weapon. Marco staggered backward, a red bloom spreading across his shirt. His gun clattered to the floor. He looked down at the wound, then up at Adrien, his expression shocked. "You actually," he coughed, blood on his lips. "You actually shot me. You gave me no choice." Adrien collapsed to his knees, his own blood pooling beneath him. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Marco's men fled through the back door, leaving their boss behind. Marco slumped against the wall, sliding down, his breathing shallow. "Could have ruled this city together," he whispered. "No," Adrien said. "We couldn't." Marco's eyes closed. His chest rose once more, then stopped. Nora crawled to Adrien, pressing her hands against his wounds. There were too many. The chest shot, the shoulder, another in his side. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please stay with me."
Tried.
"Your way," he coughed, blood flecking his lips. "Mercy. This isn't mercy. This is stupid." "Saved you." His hand found hers. "Worth it." Police burst through the door, guns drawn, voices shouting. Detective Morales knelt beside them, already calling for paramedics. "Hang on," Morales said. "Ambulance is 2 minutes out." Adrien's eyes drifted closed.
No.
Nora squeezed his hand.
You don't get to die.
"Not after everything. You hear me? You don't get to die." His fingers tightened weakly around hers. And then the paramedics arrived, pulling her away, working frantically over his body. The last thing she saw before they loaded him into the ambulance was his hand, reaching for her one more time. The morning sun hit the sign at just the right angle, making the freshly painted letters gleam. Mercy Motors. Nora stood back, wiping paint from her hands, and smiled. It had taken 10 months to rebuild everything. The garage, her reputation, her life. The police investigation had cleared her completely. Turned out being the key witness against a Mafia operation earned you some goodwill. The charges dropped. The record expunged. But the real work had been internal. The neighborhood had been wary at first. A garage connected to the Moretti name, even tangentially, carried a stink that didn't wash off easily. But Nora had persevered. Honest work. Fair prices.
No shortcuts.
Slowly, people came back. Now, 10 months later, Mercy Motors had a waiting list. "Looking good, boss." Nora turned to see Maya, her first apprentice, a 17-year-old kid from 3 blocks over who'd been hanging around asking questions until Nora finally put a wrench in her hand. Smart. Quick learner. Reminded Nora of herself at that age. "You finished the brake job on the Honda?" Nora asked. "Done, and test drove. Customers picking it up at noon." "Good work." 2 more apprentices worked inside, Carlos and Deshawn, both from the neighborhood, both hungry to learn a trade that might actually lead somewhere. Nora paid them fair wages, taught them everything she knew, and demanded excellence. Her father would have been proud. The garage was different now. Still had the good equipment. She'd kept what Adrien had given her, after much internal debate. Seemed wasteful to throw away quality tools. But she'd earned everything else herself. Every new lift, every diagnostic machine, paid for with her own sweat.
No debts. No obligations. No shadows. Well.
Almost no shadows. Mail came, Maya said, handing her a stack of envelopes.
Bills.
Invoices. A letter from the city about her business license renewal. And a package. Small, wrapped in brown paper. No return address. Nora's heart stuttered. She waited until the apprentices were busy, then took the package to her small office, rebuilt now, her parents' photograph restored and framed on the wall. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside, a wrench. Custom-made, beautiful, the handle engraved with delicate script. For the woman who fixed more than metal. Beneath it, a photograph. A man stood in front of a small house, somewhere rural. Mountains in the background, green fields, blue sky. He looked different. Lighter, somehow. The hard edges softened. A hint of gray in his hair. He was smiling, actually smiling, not that dangerous half-smirk she remembered. On the back, written in that same elegant script. Wyoming. Teaching high school shop class, if you can believe it. The kids here don't know who I was. To them, I'm just Mr. Carlson, the guy who shows them how to fix engines and build things with their hands. The prosecutors kept their word. New name, new life. Witness protection isn't glamorous, but it's peaceful. Turns out peace is underrated. You were right about mercy. It's not weakness. It's the hardest kind of strength. Thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for saving me twice. I hope you're building something good. A.M. Nora pressed the photograph to her chest, eyes stinging. He'd survived. The bullets should have killed him, 3 shots, 2 that came within centimeters of his heart. But somehow, impossibly, he'd pulled through. 3 surgeries. 2 months in the hospital. Then into witness protection before Marco's remaining associates could finish what their boss started. She hadn't seen him since that night. Hadn't been allowed to for security reasons. Morales had told her he was alive, recovering, cooperating with federal prosecutors. But no details. No contact. Until now. Boss. Maya poked her head in. You okay? Nora wiped her eyes quickly.
Yeah, just.
Old friend checking in. Good news? The best kind. She placed the wrench on her desk where she could see it, then tucked the photograph into her father's old toolbox, the one she'd carried through everything. Some things were too precious to display. Some things were just for her. Outside, a car honked. Customer arriving early. Nora stood, straightened her coveralls, and walked back into her garage. Her apprentices were arguing good-naturedly about the proper way to gap spark plugs. The radio played classic rock. Sun streamed through the windows.
This was her life now. Simple. Honest.
Built with her own hands from the ashes of that terrible night. She'd saved a dying man in the darkness, and somehow, impossibly, they'd both ended up okay.
Different. Changed.
But okay. Nora picked up her new wrench, the one engraved with Adrien's gratitude, and smiled. All right, people, she called to her apprentices. We've got work to do. Let's show the city what Mercy Motors can do. Maya grinned. Yes, boss. Through the open garage door, Nora could see the neighborhood waking up. Mrs. Lopez sweeping her stoop. Kids heading to school. Benny walking past with his morning coffee, throwing her a wave. Normal life. Beautiful life. She looked down at the wrench in her hand, then up at her father's photograph on the wall. You see someone hurt, you help. That's what makes us human. Yeah, Dad, she whispered. Guess it does. She turned back to her work, and the morning sun filled Mercy Motors with light. The end.